Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second and final adventure of the evening, a Legend tier boss battle featuring four of our most veteran players here in the lands of DnDTime. We're gonna hop right into it, and in place of normal character introductions, Othgarurt, I have a question for you. What are you up to?
On a usual day, or on a specific day?
Just on a usual day.
Sometimes I offer lessons to aspiring craftsmen. Sometimes I am fulfilling orders from near and far across the land. Almost always, I am busy at work within my forge.
And as you're busy kind of hammering away, you see the kind of various tradesmen and smiths that are watching and observing you, Othgarurt. Amongst the crowd is a both familiar and unfamiliar face. Familiar in that it is Bartholomew. Unfamiliar in that he's never attended one of your craftsmanship lessons before. But as the kind of forge dies down and the lesson finishes up, various craftsmen that were observing you go to put your techniques into practice, and Bartholomew approaches you. Othgarurt, it is good to see you. It's very interesting stuff. I didn't know that about that particular method of folding steel in that way.
It is good to see you as well, my friend. How may I help you today?
I was hoping, I don't know if you're available at all tomorrow, but I was throwing something of a festival, and I would love for you to be able to attend, if you, of course, are available.
For you, I will most certainly be available.
I'm very glad to hear it, Othgarurt. It's just rare that I feel like the adventurers of our troop get an opportunity to unwind, so I thought I wanted to hold something where you would have a moment of peace.
Peace is a strange concept to me sometimes.
Yes, well, it's something that you deserve. You should learn to relax every now and again, Othgarurt. But anyway, tomorrow, be there bright and early. We'll be meeting at the Last Hope Tavern.
Of course.
Across the lands of DnDTime, happening simultaneously. Anadoltia, what are you up to?
Anadoltia will probably be in her home in the Feywild, probably like tending to like forms and documents and stuff that a queen normally has stuff to be done. Though that's probably the later part of the day, just before she wishes her children good night and all that. So, of course, she's also sitting in Sugar's lap while doing this.
And as you are kind of taking a moment, one of your sort of pixie vassals and servants kind of comes up to you and, Anadoltia, I'm sorry, I don't want to wake the kids, but Bartholomew is here to see you. He's never come to this castle before. He wanted to visit you. He said it was fairly important.
Yes, I'll go meet up with him right quick.
And Anadoltia will like just hop off of Sugar's lap and onto the saddle of Lady Molly and just ride down to see Bartholomew.
Very well. You do so. You begin making your way down to the kind of waiting area where Bartholomew is. He says, good evening, Anadoltia. Hello, Anadoltia. It is quite good to see you this evening. I was hoping, how are you?
I'm quite well today, just finishing up some work before I send the kids to bed and whatnot. So, how may I help you? I mean, this is rather strange for you to actually visit. I mean, you didn't even show up for my wedding.
Yes, I apologize for not being able to make it, but I thought maybe I could make it up to you now. Perhaps as something of a late wedding gift just for you. Which was that I was hoping you were around tomorrow afternoon, actually, or tomorrow morning. I'm holding something of a festival, a treat for all of you. Within the, just outside of the Last Hope Tavern, we'll be holding it. Are you available?
I can probably fit that into my schedule.
I do hope that you are able to. I do hope that you are able to make it, Anadoltia. I think it will be quite a good amount of fun. Bright and early, first thing at dawn, at the Last Hope Tavern, if you can make it.
I'll be sure to.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow, Anadoltia. And again, I'm very sorry about that whole wedding thing. That's my mistake. And he hops out of the room and leaves you there, Anadoltia. As we travel across to the other side of the world, the Hodak Swamp. Krixus, what are you up to?
Oh, just doing my usual, making my newest creation. I was catching that episode with playing, and it inspired me, so I had to get some turtle soup.
Yes. How have you been as of late, Krixus?
Oh, I've been on. Now I can finally devour those foul Puato.
Yes, that is a great boon for you, I have no doubt. Are you, have you been happy as of late, Krixus?
I guess.
Yes. I know that the life of an adventurer can be very stressful from time to time, so I was throwing something of a stress relief festival. I was hoping that you might be able to attend tomorrow if you are available.
Of course I am.
Well, please, come down. We'll be meeting at the Last Hope Tavern at dawn, as well as some of your other adventuring companions.
Sounds fun.
Yes. Well, Krixus, I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you there. You've certainly earned a break. And last but not least, in the small kingdoms, we find the kingdom of Miradana. And Michael Verity, what are you up to today?
Oh, today is actually a really interesting day. For the entire week, this is actually the last day of a festival that has been going on all week throughout my capital city in celebration of my glorious accomplishments. And of course I'm there with everyone, under guard, of course, and Sarge by my side.
And kind of approaching amidst the guard, obviously allowed through the retinue, is Bartholomew as he approaches you. Your Highness, King Verity, Michael, how are you?
Oh, Bartholomew, I was not expecting you here. Have you come to enjoy the festivity?
Well, in a manner of speaking, I've come to extend them. You see, I'm holding something of a festival of my own, and I would love it if you were able to attend tomorrow. Do you think you have one more day of revelry in you, Michael?
Oh, I guess I can. Today was actually the last day in an entire week of festivals in my own kingdom. The people seem really happy by everything I've done. Heck, even the orcs from Gurn are here.
There's a mighty cry of the orcs from Gurn in the distance. Just, and Michael looks at you. Yes, well, I did actually plan that around your schedule. I knew that this was quite a big deal, so I didn't want to bring you down in the midst of a party just for you. But I think that it will be a great deal of fun, even though perhaps you are a bit partied out at the moment.
I think I have some more party left in me for tomorrow, Bartholomew.
Excellent.
Anything for you.
Well, then we'll be meeting at dawn in the Last Hope. So I hope to see you there.
Very well.
And the morning comes around. Each of you in your own way make your way to the Last Hope Tavern, where all of the adventurers of Bartholomew's shop, they drink for free. They're able to kind of spend their free time there as they wish. Some of the earlier adventurers choose to stay in the rooms in the inn on the top floor, but at this point you all have your own keeps and lives, so you are a little bit farther away. But as you enter into the Last Hope in the morning, Bartholomew had mentioned that the festival would be kind of outside and at the Last Hope, but it's pretty dead here as you're approaching. and you don't really see any signs of the festival. But as you enter in, Bartholomew is kind of standing, or sitting rather, at one of the tables, and the four of you come into the space for the first time. He goes, good morning, adventurers. I trust you all slept well.
Anadoltia does not sleep, but she just nods.
Yes, well, I know, Anadoltia don't necessarily sleep, but I was more of a time of rest before this happening today. Are all of you excited for the party?
Oh, of course, I'm excited.
Oh, yes, that's good to hear,
And
Michael.
of course, Hart is here because he kind of wants some food.
Well, you'll have to wait a moment on the food. Most of the chefs are fairly busy at the moment. Maybe a bit before things finish heating up on the grills and such. But there'll be another number of diversions in the meanwhile. Could I get all of you a drink?
Sure, and if you're hungry, here, try this.
Krixus, you take out a classic skin roll up. He hands you over what looks like just a piece of filleted skin with spices on it. Max?
I'm going to cringe and be like, no thanks. But Sarge takes one and just stuffs it in his mouth.
Just Sarge. He seems to enjoy it a good amount. And Bartholomew goes, good. And then I'll tide him over until we can get them a fuller meal. Like I said, there should be plenty of food. Can I get any of you a drink to start off? Also, take this. This is very important. And he hands over, he holds out his hand, and he's holding what looks like a big index card almost in it. Would any of you like to grab that?
Anadoltia would, because, I mean, she don't really need to eat or anything, so she'll just go ahead and grab one of those.
Yeah, he hands you the index card, and he goes, this is your punch card. There's all sorts of different booths and events at the festival of different natures. You just have to make sure that you punch the card at each one of them, because there's I'm doing sort of a fun fortune-telling booth, which if you collect all 4 punches, you'll get a free fortune-telling by me.
Well, Bartholomew, I knew you were a powerful wizard, but I didn't know you could go that far.
Yes, well, I dabble from time to time. I know a number of spells and incantations and so forth. But it should be quite a bit of fun. So he kind of goes around and passes, what are all of your drinks of choice? Anadoltia, I believe the answer is... I believe the answer is nothing for you.
I mean, though, Lady Molly will probably want a bowl of water.
Yes, a bowl of water is laid out for Lady Molly, absolutely. It's definitely been sweetened with sugar for Lady Molly's enjoyment. Krixus, what's your drink of choice?
Blood wine from the skulls of my enemies.
And weirdly, as you're drinking the blood wine that Bartholomew hands to you, it's almost like you can envision the deaths of the Sahuagin that this wine was made from.
Delicious.
Not sure how we pulled it off. Michael, Verity? What's your drink of choice?
My drink of choice? Normally I don't drink, but when I send a party, I go for the finest wine I can think of.
And an ancient elven wine is put in front of you. The whole bottle goes, this is an extract year. This is from 5.
Wow, that is ancient.
As he hands you over the finest aged elven wine. Othgarurt, something I can get for you?
Yes. Do you have any high mineral water? I have heard it is very good for the body.
High mineral water we can do. It will have every iron and magnesium and all of the minerals that you desire. It will just taste like... Do you want me to flavor it? Or do you just want them as it is?
Can you flavor it as regular water?
That I can do. And he hands you a glass, and you're drinking it, and even though it's dense with minerals, it's a heavy water, it tastes exactly like water, Othgarurt. The wonders of magic. And Bartholomew goes, all right, well, now that you're all beverages in hand, shall you away to the festival? Make sure you don't lose that punch card now. Mind you, we're only giving out one per group, as it were.
I'd see.
And I do hope you all have fun. I just think, like I said, you've all been working pretty hard, and I really wanted to treat you to something. So Bartholomew kind of steps over across the Last Hope Tavern and pops open the door, leading you all outward and onward. And what do they see on the other side?
Yeah, as the door opens up, bright light streams through. It was maybe an overcast day when you stepped into the tavern, but as you now look through the front doors, a very different scene strikes you. Wherever it is that you did find yourself entering, you're not there. You look like you're in something of a forested clearing now. You can see that there are tents, small tents, set up all around. There are children, families walking to and fro. In the background, you believe you can see large banners on large poles set up in some sort of a formation. You'll have to check that out later. But there's this sweet scent of just nature and natural beauty and just a little bit of dust from the amount of just people and things going on here. But yeah, more than that, you see a small kind of happy festival going along. People have food on skewers, walking to and fro. There are all sorts of events set up. And one of them in particular really kind of catches you right off the bat. It's right nearby. You see what looks like almost a crafts area. And, you know, sometimes I think you obviously see, right, the like macaroni art area where people are like dumping off their kids. But beyond that, you're seeing some much more interesting stuff going on. You're seeing a bunch of like big wooden poles. They almost look like they're trees, like a tree trunk that's been cleaved into like 6-foot segments. It's gotta be like 3 feet wide, these trunks, huge. And they're just all kind of lined up. There's like 6 of them in a row. And you see a bunch of folks are over there and they got chisels and they got hammers and they're like taking looks and they're looking down at some sketches that they drew and all sorts of stuff as they're starting to chisel away at it and do some crafting. And as you step out, you see a small kobold. He's wearing what looks like, it almost looks like he's in cosplay, for lack of a better term. He's got a burlap sack, which he's all bound up, almost like a frock, right? He's wearing something of a banner, or across his shoulders. That's brightly colored, yellow with some kind of red filigree that he's clearly sewed on himself. And he hobbles up to you, and he's got in his hands just a whole bunch of like chisels and stuff. He goes, "Hey, howdy! Are you here to compete in the sculpting?"
Sculpting? I mean, wow.
Yeah, one of the many festivities. I noticed you have a punch card. He says, kind of pointing up.
Ah, yes. We might be interested in that. What do we have to do exactly?
Well, just sculpt. And he points back at one of the large kind of logs that's just going to sit upright. It's one of the ones that there's no one working on right now. See, there are a couple teams already there. One's a group of what look like trigonomes, and they have stacks of papers, and they keep sketching stuff, looking up at the log. Like, they have like measuring tools, and crumple something up, throw it away. They haven't started actually doing anything yet. You see a couple of orcs with axes that are just standing there looking like pretty happy with themselves, as the log before them is shockingly like, it kind of almost looks like a dragon from their wild swings. And yeah, there's this third one here that seems kind of, and there are a couple more that still haven't been touched, but the kobold looks at you. So, y'all want to take a swing at it?
What do you three think?
Yes.
And he's got a little metal puncher, which he cook. If you want it, you got to make something.
Anadoltia looks to Othgarurt because she knows he's the crafter of the bunch, because he did make her a wedding gift. So, you want to go ahead?
Wood is much softer than what I am used to working with. This would be good practice on my restraint.
Sounds fair enough, but it seems that we must do this as a team. Looks like there's groups of people working on massive works of art here.
Yeah, absolutely. You see there are a bunch of little teams. And as you guys are coming over there, you see that there's a bit of a crowd, right, that's gathered around watching all these people craft as you all approach your little pillar. And you see there are a bunch of kobolds out there that have been like sheepishly watching the whole time. But as you all kind of approach, look, it's him, Othgarurt. Hey. And one of them kind of goes, we can do it, right? We're never going to be at the forge if we can't also, I don't know, do wood. And the other kobold's like, yeah. And they all scamper over and they start working on one next to yours. And they're having a bit of a hard time. They're like climbing all up over each other. So yeah, what do you all want to do? You're standing there, you're looking at the big log that's sitting up right in front of you.
I wonder, what do you guys think we should make? First of all, we should probably make something rather intricate and meaningful, as well as complex.
So basically, Bartholomew.
Wait, you're serious, aren't you? You want to sculpt Bartholomew? I mean,
if you think about it, he's mysterious, he's strong, and, well, if we get right to it, we can make that beard look awesome with this, wow.
I have a suggestion to add to this.
Go on.
I remember there was once a time when I was on an adventure with Sword Go Here, and I learned a valuable lesson from his beliefs and the temple we had visited about the unity of Bartholomew's adventurers, how we are strongest as a collective
the four
unit.
beams, yeah.
Perhaps.
I remember you came up with, what was it, Sword Emperor Lizard Doll or something like that?
I think so, yes. Perhaps in a totemic style, we could carve all of us as adventurers, forming together to make the cohesive whole that is Bartholomew's adventuring troop.
So we're making the 5 of us. That sounds epic.
Make it 6 and put Bartholomew at the bottom. That way he's the base.
Who's number 5? Wait, if Bartholomew's number 6, which one's? Oh, Sarge. Right, of course.
Sarge is there.
And then you can put the cloud on the top. Just the cherry on top.
Makes sense for Bartholomew to be the base, for he is the foundation upon which all of this is built. If not for him, we would not have been gathered. This is smart thinking, Krixus. Thank you.
Well said.
And as you all kind of make this plan, you start to get to work. You take out your chisels and begin cracking away. And actually, can I have everyone roll me a what is it? Probably either some sort of a tools check, like a smith's tools or a carpenter's tools or something of the like.
Which
I don't have any of those.
That's fine. In that case, just roll me dexterity. Regular old non-proficient dex.
Dexterity.
Or strength. I'll give it to you.
I'll go dexterity.
I'll go.
All right. He cooks utensils. All right. So I think what's happening here.
They've got knives.
Othgarurt, you're giving everyone kind of the direction, right? I think Michael takes one mighty hit with the hammer and takes a big chunk off, and it's the finesse that you're able to kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. And then with Anadoltia, you're having a tough time, but you know what you're really good at? Painting. And so you go into some little bits of paints to give it a little bit more texture to the front, really emphasize that totemic style you're going for. Krixus, you're cooking something, and I think the way this is working out is you're almost like burning in with your ring of the grill little spots. But Othgarurt, you hash out the majority of this thing, this structure. And after a relatively short time, about half an hour, you know, you guys are getting really into it, and it's really starting to come together. It's looking really good. You got Bartholomew down on the bottom, his magical hands held up high, almost floating above the illusion through the small bits of wood holding. Othgarurt bearing heavy on his shoulders, Michael Verity. Michael almost kind of hanging off your back, right? Hanging off the side is the Sarge. We have Krixus landed on top of your shoulders, and then almost fluttering, it looks, above is the wooden part representing Anadoltia. And of course, there's a small cloud, Krixus, you've managed to sneak up on top.
Of course.
And as you all look at this thing that you've created, you notice that, well, most of the people have stopped making things. They're all just kind of looking over. The orcs, who had been, you know, pretty proud of their cool wooden dragon, are looking over and they're like, wow. Man, maybe we should have taken more time than just swinging. I know, I'm still proud of my dragon. And the gnomes, who still haven't built anything, look at what you've created and look at their papers, and they just throw them up in the air like, we gotta start over again. The kobolds, however, you see that they've gone, and great at making small, intricate things, have had a lot of trouble with the wood. And it's just kind of scratched onto the front of theirs, just scratched into the bark of the tree, an image of 4 people sculpting a block of wood. And as you all look around and you notice the crowd is watching over to you, one of the little kobolds, smallest of them, sheepishly kind of like scampers up toward you.
Hi. I can't believe I'm actually meeting you, Othgarurt.
Hello, little friend. How may I help you?
I'm Meeble. Well, I just wanted to say, you know, you're a real inspiration for me. I always figured, you know, I wasn't good for anything more than making traps for dragons or something. But now, you know, I saw your big forge in the scrying pool when Bartholomew was showing it off, and I've heard of all the amazing things that, you know, you as a lizard person have done. And I tried cooking Krixus, but I'm just not, I can't do it.
But then he looks back to you, Othgarurt.
I just wanted to say thanks for being an inspiration. Do you think I could ever maybe learn at your forge?
He kind of shrinks down.
Yes.
Really?
We always have room for more aspiring craftsmen.
And he kind of hops around, guys, you won't believe, and he almost like starts to run away. Oh, and then he stops. Wait.
Thank you.
And he scampers back toward his little crowd of kobold friends, and they're all just like, ah, they're just chattering up a storm. They all seem very excited, hopping around. And yeah, as you're all just kind of standing there looking at this little totem, you feel real good. And the kobold wearing the burlap sack and the little sash walks up to you guys. Wow, that's pretty good. I suppose you want your punch?
Why, yes, I believe we all do.
And punch.
And as he punches your card, you watch as a number of the individuals that are kind of administrating this kind of chunk of the festival, and the people that are putting together this carving contest, they kind of take your totem pole, and they move it over and they place it at a pretty central location here within the festival. And above it, you can see hanging what looks to be a pretty large banner, which just kind of says, kind of grandly over it, the Heroes Festival. And at this point, you're kind of moving away from some of these crowds now of where all these craftsmen continue to work, eyeing your totem as kind of an inspiration for what probably will not be topped throughout the day. But around you, the festival continues to be in full swing. And as you begin kind of taking in some of the sights, why don't you all make me just perception checks as you're looking around and starting to get an idea of what's here at the festival. All right. So, Michael and Othgarurt, as you're kind of stepping away, having seen, kind of moving away from these kobolds that are running the construction area, you're noticing a lot of things. For one thing, there's a huge tent that looks like it's where they're doing a lot of the grilling. There's just a strong smell of cooked meat wafting through the air. But there's also, like, it looks closed at the moment, like they're not done grilling yet. But you notice some other things. For one thing, Michael, you can hear a lot of cheers, and aside from the just kind of general, like, large group in the crowd of people that are excited going about, there's snack booths, there's games, there's various events in that manner. You can also see there are what looks to be some, like, jousts going on over in the corner. And Othgarurt, you also catch what look to be a number of pixies and Feywild creatures, which you know that Anadoltia would certainly love to see, as they are all kind of like, they seem to have a whole, like, section of the fair that's cordoned off for them over there. But where do you guys kind of work yourselves over to next?
Obviously to the jousting that you just mentioned.
You go immediately over to the joust?
Yes, because that is the classy knights game of strength and dexterity.
And as you guys begin kind of working your way over to that way, bound by the punch card, the singular punch card to move together, or do you guys all kind of follow alongside of Michael there?
Yeah, might as well. I mean, Anadoltia did not notice the face.
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen that whole segment. But
we'll be describing the strange pixies that he saw to Anadoltia while they walk along towards the jousting area.
All right, yeah. So Anadoltia, you're like, oh well, why didn't we go do that? As soon as you move up to this whole big jousting arena that seems to have been set up, but there within it, you begin to hear what sounds like a pretty large trumpet fanfare as you're drawing close, and you can hear kind of a commentator calling out, "In this, the final round of our joust, we have the good knight of Mirador!" And there's a kind of a large, and there's kind of a large roar from the crowd, and then he goes, "And on his opposing side, the Masked Red Knight, an unknown challenger in this event." And on the other side, another kind of knight comes out, and you can see it's Michael. This doesn't look like a real joust. You're familiar, of course, with very real jousting, and the way these knights are kind of set up and some of the thing, you think it's probably just like a fake story that they've put together, and it's just like, you know, whichever one the audience cheers for more will probably win. It's not real jousting, but you see as the people are starting to get very kind of worked up and excited as the crowd, as they each kind of cheer for their favorite of the two knights. And it looks like a lot of the people that are in the crowd in this area, Michael, they appear to be from Miradora. You watch, a lot of them are kind of wearing your home colors. Some of them look to be like soldiers in your army. Some of them just appear to be citizens that are wearing the, I imagine, What are the flag's colors of Miradara? I imagined blue and silver in my mind.
I would say it's a blue and silver and a little bit of gold here and there.
A twinge of gold, mirroring the brilliant gold of their leader's hair, I imagine, in some places.
It wasn't the hair, I promise.
Well, I mean, the people of Miradara absolutely respect the perfect hair of Michael Verity, though, I imagine.
I guess you can say that.
Unrelated. And a lot of these people are cheering and getting pretty excited. Do you, like, walk amongst the crowd, Michael? What do all of you do? Like, who do you guys cheer for? You see the first one goes through and the audience kind of roars. And the Red Knight actually seems to have the upper hand right now. He kind of crashes in and strikes at the shield, leaning back the Knight of Miradara, as a lot of people are cheering for the Red Knight right now. It kind of leans back, and the blue and silver Knight of Miradara kind of falls back in his chair and drops the lance, and you see him score a point. But there's a large uproar of applause from the various people. As you see a lot of kids going, "Mysterious challenger! Go for the challenger!" And then there's basically the people of Miradara are like, "Miradara forever!" As they're kind of like, holding up their hands and cheering. What do you all do?
Yeah, Anadoltia's gonna be rooting for the red one.
Okay, so I'm going to use the know your enemy feature of Battle Master, and I'm going to look at this guy for a minute, and I want to know if a certain number of his stats are different than mine.
Which one are you looking at? The enemy or the one on your side?
The masked guy.
Yeah, and he does have like the cover over his helmet. You take a moment and you're watching for a while, and there's a good amount of time between like clashes, and he won the first clash, but you're looking at him. His stats are it says here I choose 2 from a list of stats. And I thought you just got all of them.
No,
okay, which 2 things do you want to know?
Is it strength and dexterity scores? In comparison to mine, my strength is 18 and dex is 12. Are his higher or lower than mine?
His strength is definitely significantly lower than yours. His dexterity is also significantly lower than yours. Like, he's definitely strong, but you're just so immensely strong that it's fine. But this guy is actually, you're getting the impression, as you're watching him, he's noticeably clumsy. It's definitely like a weakness the Miradara Knight could exploit, if he were to know about it.
That is very interesting. This guy seems to have stroke of luck he can just beat my knights by simply being clumsy? I feel
at the moment it looks like they're just going by like the crowd applause, and they're kind of letting each other win based on that. But you think that your knight, in kind of watching this, is definitely at his heart probably the better of these 2 jousters. A lot of the people kind of, as they clash again, the citizens of Miradara kind of like, groan, as this guy still kind of seems to be letting the Red Knight overtake him. But what's Othgarurt, Krixus, you guys do anything at this moment? You guys doing any rooting or just kind of observing? What you guys up to?
This is strange. The one in red, for some reason, reminds me vaguely of Michelle. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I get that feeling too.
And as you
difficult to take aside.
And as they're kind of clashing for a moment, you kind of hear almost what sounds like a battle cry from the Red Knight, "For the Dread Emperor!" He's kind of calling out as the 2 knights come into conflict. But Michael, as it stands, he takes another point. You think that unless your knight knocks this guy off of his horse this time, there's a chance that Miradara might lose to this challenger that seems to have won the heart of the crowd at the moment.
I have an idea. I wish to make my presence known to the knight and make a persuasion roll to basically try to cheer him on and like encourage him that I'd trade you better than that, right?
Go ahead. So you watch as that knight kind of is kind of slumping, and the people of Miradar are all kind of like a little bit kind of bummed out as they're over here. The entire stadium, you're getting the impression at this point that the people that are here are people that were away from Miradara for the festival, and this is almost being held, like you just had this huge festival in your hometown. This is almost being held as a makeup for the citizens of the world that are away from home and cannot celebrate the grand events that they had just at your kingdom, and the recent prosperity that your kingdom has had. And kind of seeing this moment of weakness from Miradara, it so goes against the spirit of the festival. That knight walks up and kind of is trotting around the outside of the area. And as he kind of reaches the end, he's kind of catching his breath, and he takes off his helmet for a moment as he wipes the sweat from his brow. And he sees you standing there, Michael Verity. What do you say?
I say, come on, you can beat this guy. I trained you better than this, you know. And then can I roll persuasion or something? Or
yeah. He kind of like hears you out of the corner. Go ahead and make a persuasion check with advantage, as you are literally the king of his people.
I clicked it. Hold up. There we go. 26.
26, huh? You watch as this knight kind of looks over and looks down at you, Michael, and for a moment he goes, "Well, you're not the one on the horse, huh?" And then he stops, stunned, as he sees the person that's speaking to him. "My lord, my liege, I did not know that you would be watching. I'm sorry that I have let you down until now, but I will fight. I will truly fight."
It is all right. Everyone, even the mightiest, sometimes have their flaws. But don't worry. I know you can pull through.
I will try to do your kind words honor, my liege. And he bends his head downward. And you can see now the people in your segment of the crowd are all kind of like separating around as they see that their king is there. At this point, the knight kind of pulls the helmet down over his eyes, and a look of steely resolve appears over his face. As you go in, he's actually going to go ahead and make an attack roll. Not just going along with the thing that is scripted.
Oh god, did I overdo it?
And as they go and clash, he has advantage. He's going to go ahead and make an attack roll with advantage. 13. Oh, it says slashing. It should be piercing. You watch as the two knights kind of run into each other this time. You just see like a fiery resolve. He holds the lance out kind of perfectly. The crowd begins to roar. You hear a couple of votes like, "Finish him! Finish him, masked hero!" And then on your side, just Miradara! What is, Krixus, what are you doing? You haven't said anything yet.
I'm just waiting to see if there's any bodies, clean up.
And you're not sure if it's a body, because it seems like he's unconscious. The spears are not tipped. They have kind of rounded, blunted ends on the end of them, the lances, so that no one gets truly killed. But you watch as the knight kind of comes in and lands an incredibly severe blow, not on the shield where all of the other blows have hit, but directly into like the armor about the chest, and the Red Knight goes spiraling backwards off of his horse. There's uproarious cheers. You can see that like some of the administrative people here at the festival are kind of looking around like, that's not it. But the announcer kind of quicks up. From behind, the Knight of Miradara unseats the Red Knight. It is his victory, champion of the festival. There's a huge uproar of shouts and applause from the Miradara folks, and you see the announcer now seeing you and the people that are kind of like pushing you forward. My liege.
Yes.
would you do this good knight the honor of bestowing upon him his prize?
Oh, why? Of course.
And at this point, he kind of walks over and hands you this like beautiful kind of golden wreath and kind of token of victory that they're going to bestow. Kind of, it's almost like it's more like a ceremonial prop than it is actually gold in any way. That they probably use every time they do this show. But he kind of hands over to you and is in this moment kind of stunned that the true king of Miradara is actually here. What do you do? What do you say to your people as you bestow this knight and herald his victory for Miradara?
I think for a brief moment, as I look at my knight, as I approach him with this wreath, and I make a speech and say something along the lines of, "My great people, it is my honor to bestow one of my best knights, I should say, the privilege of being champion of this jousting tournament, of the festival. Please accept your prize, champion."
It is my utmost honor, completely forgetting that this is even theater. He's just so in the moment that he just kind of reaches up and grabs the item from you. "I'm not worthy of the honor," and kind of lowers his head down. And the people cheer at this opportunity to see their king amongst them, as many of them missed at the festival to Michael Verity that recently occurred. With that, you watch us kind of running up to you, that squire, or that herald rather, kind of comes up to you, "And my lord, do you have a punch card?"
Oh, indeed I do. I show it to them.
All right, yeah, he takes the punch. He goes, "Allow me to punch it for you," and he goes over and he kind of clamps down on it, and a hole appears in the punch card. And as you kind of take a moment and bask in the adoration of your people, it takes you a long time, Michael Verity, to break away from all of the folks that are looking over to just, meet you, to shake your hand.
Yeah, understandable.
Yes. But eventually you do manage to pull yourself away from this jousting arena, and the festival continues in full swing. Anadoltia, while you were kind of over there, kind of passively rooting for the Red Knight, always got to go for the underdog, in a sense, or I guess the overdog, as it was, and then Miradara turned out to be the underdog.
Yeah, and also just rooting for the red guy because red's her color.
Fair enough. But Anadoltia, behind you, one of those pixies kind of that's been flying and manning things around the festival flutters by, and you turn to look to them, and they're not a pixie that you recognize, but the kind of sugary lace of their wings does tell you that they're from your home kingdom. And as they look to you, my queen.
Oh, hello.
Or queendom, as it were. I had heard that you would be here, but would you come to see our display? Of course, all of your companions should come as well.
Of course. It'll be my pleasure.
The pixie kind of flies, kind of ducking and weaving and kind of hovering in between the large amounts of people that are here in kind of traffic, as the pixie kind of leads you over to a slightly more quiet section of the festival. And what you can see, there's a number of tents that have been set up in arrays, and all of them appear to be in a lot of different places. You can see there are what look like some floating, almost like will-o'-the-wisps that are going around, which you're not used to seeing around too often. I mean, you occasionally run into them in the Feywild, but there's also a number of pixies that are going around and going about tasks. And you see on a sign what looks like it says the Build-A-Doll Workshop. Is what it says on the front of it. And underneath it, it just reads, "A charity created in the honor and love of Anadoltia Bluebeads and Sugar Pastry." And underneath it, you can just see, "Happy belated wedding." And as you kind of approach, are the rest of you kind of following along?
Yes. And
Of course.
almost said the wrong name. Sorry, a bit nervous tonight. Othgarurt is walking alongside Michael, trying to talk to him a bit.
Yeah. What are you saying to Michael at the moment?
In hindsight, I am glad that your knight won. The red one at first reminded me of Nigel, but I am certain Nigel would be much more familiar with a lance.
Indeed. My observations indicated that that red knight was actually pretty clumsy and only won as a result of a stroke of luck. But regardless, I'm glad that my knight made it to the top.
But after you make that very good joke, Othgarurt, you kind of arrive and a pixie kind of flies up and, "I did not know that you were coming, my queen. We heard you were here, but we weren't sure if you'd have time. Did you want to partake in the charity?"
Well, might as well. I mean, y'all did set us up. It would be a waste not to.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. And the pixie kind of goes, "Well, what we're doing here is we're having people go through. We have all of the parts assembled, and we're raising awareness for the orphans. But we're having people build dolls for that, so that one day some of the orphan children that have not yet found a doll body might have a home. Would you like to partake? I can show you the setup right over here." And she kind of flies over and pulls out 4 chairs for all of you. And you can see that the Build-A-Doll workshop, it has just all manner. There's lots of dolls that already have been like placed on the walls, and they all have like little messages and stuff written on them to the children that will someday occupy those dolls. But there's also just a bucket of like assemblable parts. There's like wooden like torsos and arms and legs. For people that are maybe more experts, there's also like some minor like wood carving materials and things like that, and paints and items to kind of put them on. There's for people that are less adept, there's glue and googly eyes and various stuff that you can all put together to assemble dolls. But would all of you like to make a doll?
I might be interested.
Yeah, Michael Verity, what do you make for a doll? What's the, without getting too hung up on the details, what's like the finished product of the doll that you make look like?
Imagine like, how do I say this? He looks like a little, like, you know how chibi art is, right? How they're little cute and tiny? Imagine like a little knight, like the knight that was in the tournament, but it's really small and it's cute.
So almost like, you almost kind of make like a little toy soldier.
Yeah.
As you put together this doll, and it has like, you find like a little like wooden helmet. There's all sorts of like clothing and stuff that you can put on the doll. You find like a small helmet that you're able to put over. There's nothing like armor, but there is a shirt that you're able to put on that looks like armor, and it's kind of like sewn to make it look like armor, almost as a gag more than anything, but it serves your purposes. You place a little kind of like wooden spear in the hand. Do you write a message to the orphan that will someday inhabit this doll on the doll?
I would write something nice that, how would I say this? It would be to whoever receives this wonderful gift. May my blessings inspire you to make your dreams come true, whether it be for glory or otherwise.
And after writing this nice little message on it, the pixie kind of comes over and flies over, and like two of them have to pick it up and lift it up onto the shelf. But they place your doll on the row for those spirits and kind of abandoned, lost souls that they might find it someday. But Krixus, you make a doll?
Sure, why not?
What do you throw together?
Honestly, considering what he recently learned, just a little of this and a little of that, making a very different doll. One that's somewhat horrific.
What does the monster doll that you make look like? I imagine... Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, one arm is like a claw.
Oh, yeah, you got a crab claw.
The other
for
arm's
one.
like a tentacle. Then, like one horse leg, and the other leg's like a regular person leg.
You make this eldritch abomination.
With like a lizard folk body, and then like an ellipid head.
What's the head?
An ellipid.
Oh my god. You just make this eldritch monstrosity doll.
Beautiful. It reminds me of the turducken. The Osterducken. Yes, that's it. The Osterducken.
Do you leave a message on it?
Yeah. You're beautiful no matter what you look like on the outside.
And do you watch as the pixies kind of come over and take it? They look at it with like a touch. They look at it with a touch of distaste, but it's also one of them goes, you know something? I bet you there's a kid out there that's gonna think that this is totally rad. You'd be surprised. Some of the stranger ones, a lot of the orphans gravitate toward, like, because what kid doesn't want to turn from a regular boy into like a crab arm superhero? So maybe you'll find someone that likes this.
Anadoltia just cost the name Theodolomew.
Bartholomew, you said?
No, it's like Theodolomew. I forget what the kid's name. That was just a dragonborn. That was in the part of Bartholomew during my.
I see.
Wait, let me circle back to yours, Anadoltia. Because first I want to ask Othgarurt, did you make a doll?
This is a golden opportunity for Othgarurt to experiment with a porcelain formula that he's been thinking about ever since he made a dagger for Anadoltia from one of Anadoltia's old bodies. So he spends probably way too much time grinding up fresh bone to create a sort of hybrid of porcelain and bone mold to make a very sturdy but somewhat vaguely shaped doll body.
This is beautiful. It's not, so you're not completing the doll, you're basically making like a frame for someone. You're basically building the frame and then the person could maybe customize it themselves later.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. Do you write a note with it?
Be who it is you wish to be. And remember, anything that brings emotion has practicality. For to live is to feel.
That's a very nice message. And you watch as the pixies kind of go over. They're just very impressed with like the porcelain and bone work that you've done, and just that's an incredible work. I know that this doll will make some child incredibly happy someday. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. As they just seem overwhelmed with appreciation at the moment. But we move last, Anadoltia. Could you describe for me the doll that you've made?
Of course, like the doll she makes has more of a pixie feel to it. Has she took probably some of these like thin wood pieces and shaped and painted them to look like lunar moth wings, and just like painted the like doll body, like got some just some simple parts together, painted the body like a very palish green, gave it some like bright blue eyes and whatnot. Gave it a cute little dress as well, because what pixie does not want a cute dress?
All right, yeah, you make this very cute, very beautiful, kind of fae-influenced doll that you've put together. And do you write a message upon it?
Yes, I do. Like she wrote, Anadoltia will write, "Shoot for the stars. Even if you miss, you'll be sorry. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll be among the stars."
And as you write this, the pixies, it will be an incredible honor for any child to someday occupy a doll created by the Queen of Dolls, which you'll probably learn in time. But and as they are saying that, and they're kind of just like thanking you for contributing to the charity and just kind of, you know, appreciating the doll that you've made, admiring the craftsmanship, because Anadoltia is an expert doll maker. You see one of those kind of will-o-wisps that was floating around the area rushes over and immediately flies into the doll that you've created. And it begins to animate and to move. And they kind of look down at their doll hands. They read the little message that you wrote immediately and smile. They look up to you, Anadoltia, and go, "This one was really cute."
I'm glad.
What's it like to be a doll? I'm kind of scared.
Anadoltia will like sigh a bit and just look out and says,
It is both hard but rewarding. But sometimes you have to stick through it to the end, no matter how painful or sorrowful it can get.
Okay. I don't know, that sounds hard. But
It is hard, but sometimes you make connections that are a lot greater than you ever have made in a normal lifetime.
and you watch as the kind of machinations of the doll's mouth kind of widen into a grin, and this newly born dollbound looks up at you, Anadoltia, and just, "Thank you for bringing me back."
Anadoltia just nod.
And with that, you kind of reach down, and while you're having this moment, at some point, it would appear that one of those pixies kind of flew over and kind of went over to your punch card, and just, with a sudden punch, you can.
Nice. That's 3.
Jeremy, you're muted.
The pixies flutter over, and they start helping this new doll get accustomed to what it's like, right? Learning to maybe walk a little bit on their porcelain legs. But as you look on with an awe, something else, a very different sensory appeal. Oh, it's that food. Oh, it smells so good. And you hear a call from way across the fair, a voice saying, "It's dinner time! Everybody come on to the cookout!" And I assume Krixus is leading the way. You begin to make your way over.
Absolute.
And Krixus, you make a beeline toward the cookout area. There's a very, very large tent that has been set up where there's all the grills, and you see dozens of lizard folk chefs, and, you know, not all lizard folk. You see an orc in there grilling up some large steaks, and a few other races doing the cooking, but it's mostly the Hodak lizard folk, because they know how to make good food. And yeah, there's just potent aromas wafting everywhere. People are in line grabbing food from pretty much fresh off the grills, and there are just heaps of mostly meat-based foods in the background. But there are a few other things. Yeah, as you kind of make your way over, I mean, there's tons of stuff here. where do you head to first? Like, what's the meal that each of you go to assemble? And Krixus, do you give any pointers for anyone? As this is mostly Hodak style cooking.
Well, I would recommend fried drum legs. They are delicious. And of course, well, I have my proclivity, but I do like my pizza, but there are other kinds of styles. Perhaps some Pollywog barbecue, who knows?
All right, so Krixus, you wanna make your dish first?
Sure.
As you kind of walk up, what do you put on your big plate? I imagine you take not like a plate, but almost like a serving tray for you.
Oh, of course. Always
what goes on your dish? What do you get?
I think I'm gonna go with.
They have more mundane things like fried catfish, but they also have crazy stuff here. Like they've got pickled Sahuagin heads. You know, they got the whole slew of options.
Illithimari.
Illithimari. Do you just only get Illithimari? Is it an Illithimari day for Krixus?
No. I mean, I have other things. I come to think of it, I think a great seafood dish would go well with that. So, of course, I'll have to have my first masterpiece and one of my latest creations.
So you get cooked horror 3 ways. Red sashimi surprise from the terrifying red kuatoa, and I imagine they have some red kuatoa on the back. And those folks like, what do you want that for? Terrible cooking.
But I know how to do it now, thanks to Guy Firing. You should try some. Yes, it's delicious now. Thanks to the
I'll
power
believe
of
it when I
Shaelmaar.
taste it.
Here, taste for yourself.
They haul out a big slab and you do your cooking magic on it. And by the cloud. It's incredible.
Yeah, I know, right?
What am I to doubt? The great chef Krixus. And Krixus, you pile up your Illithimari, your cooked horror 3 ways. What are the 3 ways of this cooked horror?
Oh, it's a tender steamed claw with a butter dipping sauce, a delicious bisque with a tomato base, so it's nice and bright still. Served with a dollop of sour cream and dried seaweed to add a little salt and depth of flavor. And then, of course, a delicious ceviche, sliced cooked horror, cooked in a wonderful either citrus or vinegar with tomatoes and onions to add a little depth of flavor.
Yeah, and it's crazy how they've been able to keep the ceviche cool, even though it's quite a warm day out. So yes, you've assembled this delicious platter of food and a very diverse set of food as you go to sit down at one of the many picnic tables that have been set out for people to feast. And everyone at the festival seems to be gathered around here. You see in the distance, right, there's a knight wearing red armor. He's got his helmet off. He's just got kind of greasy, dark black hair. And he's chatting and laughing with another knight wearing this kind of blue and silver armor that you saw earlier. They seem to be laughing it off about the joust deal. But yeah, you've gotten your delicious feast, and as you go to dig into it, you devour a feast of affinity. The diversity of your feast has given you a unique power that will be available to you for the rest of this evening. And I'm gonna show this to you right now, but the first time you would suffer an elemental damage type in the next 24 hours, you become resistant to that. In addition, you're going to gain 2d10 maximum hit points, like a hero's feast.
2d10?
Absolutely. So that is your feast of affinity. Yeah, sure. That seems the most fitting benefit for the feast you've devoured. Excellent.
I added stuff to my sheet.
I know, right? I mean, I dig it. I dig it a lot. So watching Krixus just pile all this stuff up on their tray, what do you go for? I mean, Othgarurt, you're next in line, right? You're also a lizard folk, maybe not with quite a unique palate like Krixus. What do you get?
I remember the old days, back with my old tribe so long ago. Often, we would brew and stew these concoctions of great thickness. They are like stew, but they are, in a way, saucy, and I will seek out any such stew or sauce.
So it's very, very thick, kind of saucy stew.
Yes.
Excellent. You go, and there are many saucy, thick stews here. But you go to one, and maybe a little too spicy, and head over to another. That was a little too earthy. One smells a little too much like the sea. And finally, you find one just like home. And you go ahead and ladle it up into your plate. Or I guess into a big bowl. Do you get quite as much as Krixus, or maybe a little less?
I will save some room on an additional plate to sample some of the cultural staples of the land as well.
Excellent. So as you get this little sampler of delicious treats from all throughout the land of DnDTime, there's cooked horror, obviously served a plethora of ways. There's a baked carrion crawler, and then of course there's more normal foods, right? Like the abyssal chicken. And fried abyssal chicken is damn good. You make your way over to sit down with Krixus, and you're very diverse and, I guess, intellectually minded, right? Because you've selected a whole bunch of different things with the hope of gaining that kind of experience of tasting these different cultural foods. You have gained a Feast of Acuity, which gives you advantage on wisdom saving throws for the next 24 hours. As you eat your incredibly delicious summer feast. I'm interested, Michael Verity. Maybe I'm wrong, but Michael doesn't necessarily strike me as the kind to try all sorts of different cooked monsters. Like seemingly most people here have gone for. Am I mistaken, or is Michael more adventurous than I thought?
Well, I'll say this. I'm more adventurous, but I wouldn't go so far as how Krixus does it. Because I will say Krixus can be a little eccentric with his food choices.
Yeah, I mean, you see most of the humans that are around here, right? They've gotten some hot dogs or some some burgers or something. Pretty staples, I think, of Miradoran culture. What do you go for? Because I think some of the Miradarans who were around, right, they were there for the joust, are kind of like, oh, I like to get something. They're like interested in what you're going for.
Well, I like to do a bit of a weird mix, I should say, because little do other people know, I actually do cook my own food, as much as I hate to admit it.
Well, if you want to try something a little out of your norm, but for the refined palate, might I suggest...
Suggest what?
Snaviar.
I'll think about it. But for now, what I do is I get 3 different types of meat. One is going to be from a bird of sorts, like chicken, like a big chicken or something.
Like a rock leg.
Yeah, like a rock leg. The second piece is going to be from like a boar meat or something, and the third meat is going to be something of a fish. So one
so
from the
you
air,
like a big swordfish steak.
Yeah, so it's basically one from the air, one from the land, and one from the sea.
And as you
and then I mix it up with seasoning akin to that of Italian, and then add some vegetables to that.
Beautiful. So a nice simple side for a very surf and turf and cloud. As you combine the three, there's talk among the crowd. Ooh, the audacity to mix three different from the sea, the land, and the sky. And as you go to sit down, you have gained the Feast of Audacity, which gives you a +4 bonus to your charisma ability score for the next 24 hours, and increases your hit point maximum by 2d10.
Interesting. I should roll that right now. 2d10. Oops,
That was one.
And plus
There we
13.
go. Not bad. As you delight in your Feast of Audacity. And last but certainly not least, Anadoltia, you're not one for eating all that much.
Yeah, she rarely, if ever, eats. But I mean, to see this is she sees this more as a cultural exchange. So she's
Absolutely.
willing to try something. So she goes down the line and spots a little pastry that I'm just gonna post like.
So everyone else gets these big trays and bowls and plates, and you just zoop, fly in, snag a little pastry, a pitamon roll, a semi-spicy pastry made of grounded spines from some sort of fiend and shaped like rolls with soft spikes on top. Beautiful. So you zip down the line, grab one little pastry to nibble on, and quickly make your way out. And as you sample this little pastry and enjoy its taste, you can feel that it was clearly from some kind of flying fiend, some sort of devil, and combined with the quickness in which you have acquired your meal and returned to the table to everyone else, you gain some of the quick features of the creature or the meal that you've consumed, as you have consumed a Feast of Alacrity. Which gives you advantage on all dexterity ability checks, which include initiative, for the next 24 hours. And of course, in addition, you're going to regain 2d10 hit points. So go ahead and roll me that.
All right, one moment.
And you guys should all be able to see your various feasts now, if you'd like, for future reference. In Roll20.
Yep.
Ooh, nice hit points. And yeah, the four of you sit down and you have a great feast. You can see, again, the knights seem to be, all hitting it off. No hard feelings over the pretty hard hit in the joust. You can see some other ways away. Some of the kobolds that were, that were crafting are sitting at a table talking to the orcs on the other side. And it seems like the orcs are trying to get some, because the orcs were too brutal with their axes and the kobolds too finesse, and everyone seems to be just hanging out and having a pretty good, pretty happy meal. Do you guys chat up at all, or do you just yum eat the delicious feast?
First, I will bless everyone with a wonderful prayer to Cloud and many blessings he bestows upon us.
What was that, Plunder? You were a teeny bit quiet there.
I'm going to basically send a praise to Cloud for wonderful Cloud to see.
So you stand, and the place gets a little quiet, and you give your blessing to the Cloud, and the people all cheer and dig in to what is an incredible feast.
And while I'm doing the praise to the Cloud, I'm gonna have my little pet Cloud just fly through the crowd on all the tables and shower with his blessing.
Oh, beautiful. So it's just, it rains a little bit. And they're like, well, I guess that's, sure. It was, maybe, right, their particular hooked horror leg was a little dry, needed just a little more moisture. They didn't realize it, but then they tasted oh yeah, that's juicy. That's what they needed from the Happy Cloud.
Yes.
And as the four of you finish your feast and you sit around listening to the stories being told around you and making your way, just eating and having a good time, a lot of the crowd kind of disperses a little bit, and you aren't really sure why, until Krixus, you feel a little drop of water drip down onto your head. and you're like, oh, a little cloud, but you look up, and it's not a little cloud. It's a great big cloud.
He has come!
As it suddenly, rather abruptly, starts to rain. Krixus, you stand up and yell out your praises, of course.
Praises!
Many lizard folk also, they kind of like, people go to scamper back under the awnings, right? This sudden, out of the blue storm. But a couple of lizard folk see you and they go like, it's praise, right? And some non-lizard folk as well join in. And Krixus, as the cold water of the cloud, or falling from the cloud, drips down your scales, I think usually being a lizard folk and being a cold-blooded creature, there's a shiver that usually runs down your spine, a primal feeling of a need to get out of the rain. But that's not what happens. Instead, the droplets fall warm upon your skin, even warmer than the air, even warmer than the basking heat of the sun just moments before. And while the darkness of the cloud does leave shade upon the area that you stand, you don't feel so much of fear or that primal need to get away, but you feel a comfort and you feel a strength. And it's quick, fleeting, and then it's just rain again. And Michael, Anadoltia, and Othgarurt, are you all still there, or have you guys started to make a headway back to the tarp, to the tents?
Anadoltia just put on the sou'wester she has.
You put a big hat on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the luxuries of big headwear at the moment, so I head for the tarp.
Beautiful.
Othgarurt simply is not one to be shy about weather.
So Othgarurt soaking wet in the rain, Anadoltia with your big old hat, and Krixus, as you look between your friends, and I think Michael's like, come on guys, over here, under the tarp. Krixus, in that moment, that you have been touched by the cloud. And in this moment, its attention had fallen solely upon you. Do you do anything? Or do you just kind of stand there in the warm rain for a while?
I stand there, my arms looking straight up at the cloud, basking greatness. Cloud, the great cloud. And know that is on the side.
And as you have this religious experience, a voice next to you, Michael, a lizard folk stands next to you. He's a very, very plump lizard folk, and you swear as he's clearing his throat, he's sticking a hand down his throat, and you swear there's goat leg sticking out, and he pushes it down. Excuse me. You're looking for and he has a little clippy thing for the
Yes,
the card.
I do, and this happens to be the fourth one, and I hand him the card.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, that's 4. And punch. He punches the card.
And as the 4th punch is completed on your card, and with the area cleared up by the rain, most people are kind of hanging under tents. There's still frivolity. There's still the sounds of music and laughter around you. But there's something else that you'll notice. No longer in the sea of crowdgoers, you notice a tent that you hadn't yet. It's blue. It's covered in kind of patchwork images of stars and moons. And kind of on the front of it, there seems to be just like a kind of a hokey-looking cutout wooden picture of Bartholomew, kind of putting his hands over a crystal ball.
I simply smirk to myself and look at the others and inform them that we have the 4 punches and we should probably enter Bartholomew's.
Yeah, and Anadoltia just follows.
All right. You step up and into the tent. Krixus, Othgarurt, do you follow along as well?
Yes.
Yes.
You step up and into the tent, and inside you don't see, well, Bartholomew as expected, but you do hear, greetings, adventurers. And across from you, you can see what looks like a fortune-telling machine with an animatronic Bartholomew inside of it. As you kind of look up, he has his mouth is kind of moving comically, and he kind of shifts back and forth a few times. I, Bartholomew, the very powerful wizard, will read your fortune. Please insert your completed punch card into the slot.
Having punch card in hand, I insert it, and I chuckle a bit because the animatronic reminds me of a certain episode when we had to go to a camp.
Yes, and as you kind of think this thought, now I, Bartholomew, the very powerful wizard, will look into my crystal ball and see what lies in store. Yes. And you see like the animatronic hands lift up to the crystal ball that's in the little glass case, and it begins to glow. And then you see the front of the entire case just kind of slowly open up, revealing an entryway back into what appears to be the Last Hope Tavern.
I'm very confused.
And sitting inside the tavern, you can see the actual Bartholomew.
Well, let's go. Let's dive in. I approach Bartholomew happily.
All right. And as you all kind of walk into the tavern, the sounds of rain, the sounds of the festival fade away and disappear. And the tavern is dark. The chairs have all been kind of put up over it, and it is quiet. Sitting over in the corner, with an expression on their face that doesn't seem particularly happy, I would say. Is that fair to say when I'm describing? You can see Roger sitting there. What does Roger look like as he's sitting in the corner, Jeremy?
Roger's wearing his same green robes as ever, but he's sitting in a corner booth. He has his feet kicked up and just seems to be almost waiting. His eyes are on you like a hawk, just watching you and watching Bartholomew as the 4 of you enter the tavern.
Here to have your fortune told.
Sounds about right.
Yes,
Sorry
Sorry
One
about the whole-
moment, please. I am slightly worried. Roger, did something happen to one of your birds?
No.
Are you okay?
Roger gets up from the booth and walks his way over toward the 4 of you and Bartholomew.
You're a bit sulky today, Roger. What's got you?
Bartholomew, you know exactly what's got me. Same thing that got me the time before and the time before that.
Not entirely certain what you're referring to, but if you'd care to discuss it, we can certainly work it out. Is this about your pay again, Roger?
Roger turns to the four of you. Look, I tried to stop the others that went before you. I'll try to stop you now. Once you follow him, kind of gesturing with his head toward Bartholomew, there's no turning back. There's no unknowing once you know.
I'm a little confused, Sir Rod.
Michael, are you happy?
As it stands, yes. But your worried expression is starting to concern me.
Then
greatly.
turn around.
I
Go back through the door. Go back to the festival. Stay happy.
just look at the others, wondering what their thoughts are.
Anadoltia just shrugs. Like she doesn't really get it.
Same for me, it's just kind of like,
You asked about my birds, Othgarurt. There's always a time when a baby bird has to leave the nest. I'm not sure you're quite ready to leave the nest. The four of you. He might think you are. But I've had enough seeing my friends die.
Roger, things are making things a bit tense in here. I was just going to do sort of a fortune reading for all of them.
Yeah, okay, Bartholomew. Sure. Do what you may. I can't make you do what I want you to.
Yes,
But
that's certainly true. I'm a very powerful wizard. All manner of spells and incantations and so forth.
wasn't talking to you. Just know that from here on out, there's no turning back. If you choose to walk this path, the path he's going to show you,
Do you guys wish to do this? Part of me is having second thoughts. Though something in my head is calling out to me, telling me that I need to see some sort of truth.
I have only one question, then.
for me,
Yes. If we follow this forbidden path, will we be useful?
until you die.
I, for one, am fine with that.
Anadoltia just like kind of looks down and thinks for a moment, and looks at Roger, says, just goes,
Before me and Imal separated, I always heard a voice saying, truth and lies are one and the same. I want to see what this truth is that you want to show us. But whether we're ready for it or not, as adventurers, we cannot ignore something like this, whatever you're trying to warn us of.
All right.
Krixus?
Don't say I didn't try and help you, though.
Still no way for me to get stronger, so I've got to go on.
Well, as for me, the voice, I can feel a sense of something that has not yet been fully accomplished. When I started as an adventurer, I did it out of a calling of voices, and those voices have come back to me. They are telling me that I have to do this. So I shall heed their wishes.
Very well.
Roger,
What?
thank you for being my friend.
Good luck. You'll need it.
Well,
I'll see the four of you some other time.
very well.
Go ahead, Bartholomew. Do
Yes,
your...
anyway, as I was saying, again, bit of a mood killer, Roger. Learned to read a room. But were you interested in having a fortunes told?
Indeed.
Roger stalks back to the corner and sits down in a chair to watch.
Yes.
I think some of my suspicions, well, it's not as much of a fortune anymore because you kind of already answered my question. But I predict that the four of you would never give up, no matter the cost. Is that fair to say?
Well, that's accurate of me to say,
I mean-
to the very least.
Well, to be fair, would you even consider us adventurers if we did give up?
Bartholomew kind of smiles at that and he goes, I certainly wouldn't be speaking to you in this way now, if that were the case. And that has been proven to me more than once now. So, I've often tested the resolve of those that I wish to see for. As you know, there are 4 tiers of adventurers here amongst our shop. You are, of course, of the mythic tier, and then there are those adventurers that become legends. I believe that you are due for a promotion. But you will have to pass a test. Are you ready for that?
A test of what, though?
Well, you will have to accept that challenge not knowing the nature of it. But it's a doozy.
Well, I fought the Rhinestein. I fought the that kobold. What more can we go against that we haven't already?
Well, I guess you'll have to wait and see. But if you're all ready, then please walk with me now. And Bartholomew steps out. You see a door in the side of the Last Hope Tavern that has never been there before in the time that you've been coming here. It wasn't even there when you walked in the room, but it is now. And Bartholomew walks up to it and opens it, and it seems to lead into his shop.
If you would all like to go ahead, I have one more order of business to do, actually.
Anadoltia just gets off of Molly for a second and temporarily dismisses her, and then heads on into the shop.
Okay. You just see Roger kind of watching coldly as you all exit forward into the shop. But the Anadoltia head on in. Krixus?
I head on in.
Michael?
I look at Sarge, who has been with me throughout this whole festival, and up to this point, and I look to him solemnly and tell him, whatever happens here, just know that if we do not come back, know that we gave up, fought to the very end.
Sarge.
And then me and Sarge then go to the shop.
All right. And Othgarurt?
Othgarurt will walk over towards Roger's corner, but not approaching too closely, just kind of enough to talk.
If
What do you...
you are right, and we are wrong, then I will not be able to give you this for your next birthday. So I apologize that it is both early and unfinished.
He'll take what originally looks like a fragment of bone out of his bag and place a unfinished carving of a bird mid-flight on one of the nearby tables. Because it's unfinished, it looks like a bird that just has its wings extended and is perched on some strange rock. But
Roger looks up. I imagine he's looking down as you approach, and he looks up at the little carving on the table. And I think you can see his eyes are quite watery and red.
Good luck, Othgarurt. I will see you on the other side. It's after that I'm worried about.
In that case, I will go bird watching again with you soon.
Someday.
and with that, Othgarurt will nod and follow the others through the door.
As you all walk in, you can see Othgarurt a moment later. You can see that Bartholomew has already walked past the main part of the shop, and that part of the shop is completely empty at the moment. And he's moved beyond into the back room, which some of you may have toured, some of you may have not. There are a number of artifacts strewn about the space, but the one that Bartholomew's attention is turned toward at the moment is a door. It is a plain wooden door, perhaps the strangest of the objects that are collected here in this space. And as he goes over to it, he turns a small silver key within its lock and opens it up. And beyond, you can just see a white light and void. Just a white void on the other side of that door. And Bartholomew speaks up. Well, the challenges that I have prepared for you are beyond here. But as Roger was implying, once you've stepped through, there's no turning back. So make sure that you're certain. And he gestures to the door. Best of luck on the other side, eh?
Anadoltia nods and will be probably the first one to walk through the door.
All right, and Anadoltia strides forth. Everyone else?
I wait.
Krixus, Othgarurt?
Considering a certain adventure we were on with owlbears, I just kind of popped my head in it first.
And as Krixus pops his head into the door, he disappears completely. Othgarurt?
He'll take a deep breath and just quietly step through the door.
I look at
And-
Bartholomew one last time and tell him, Bartholomew, it has been an honor to be your adventurer, as you have helped me rise through the ranks, and now the celestial voices tell me that there is something far greater for me that I must do. But I don't know what that is, but thank you for helping me become what I am now.
And Bartholomew smiles a warm smile to you, places a hand on your shoulder. I didn't do much. Michael Verity, you created you. You have one of the strongest senses of justice I've seen. But I suspect we'll have time for at least a few more words before you go on. Why don't you, before you go thanking me, make sure that you make it out of this, huh?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Best of luck in there, Michael.
Let's go, Sarge. And I take Sarge and we go through the door.
And as you have all now stepped through the door, you find yourselves standing in a pale, white, empty void. And on the other side of the void, you can actually see Bartholomew standing again. In the moment until Michael comes through, you can see him standing on the other side of the door. But as soon as the door closes and Michael steps through it, you're all just surrounded by nothing, except for Bartholomew, who speaks up. Greetings, adventurers. It's time for your final test. And it is as I mentioned, something of a doozy. You see, the challenge that I have put in place for you, I've tested the wills of adventurers from time to time. But I know that the four of you are of unbreakable will. It has been proven by other adventurers that have come. So, as a formality, as I was implying before, will all of you never give up, no matter the cost?
That is correct.
Nods around. Does everyone affirm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Bartholomew just, good. In that case, I will simply be testing your aptitude of sorts. You are all young, but you have not seen the world as I have. I have lived a long time. The challenge that you will now face was what was for me the greatest challenge of my entire life. If you are able to accomplish what I was able to accomplish at your age, then I will deem you all worthy. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Yes.
Best of luck. And with that, Bartholomew disappears. The void around you collapses, and you find yourselves suddenly transported into a new and strange space, which we'll find out about when we return. We'll be back in just a few moments with the Legend Tier boss battle.